Hello and assalamu alaikum, everyone. A very warm welcome to the day 2 of the AA Audit and Assurance Webinars to Success for Exams in June 2024. And I am your tutor, Kashif Kamran. Just let's see the agenda for the day 2 today before proceeding on with it. We had a day 1 yesterday where I focused on the approach to success, primarily what you should be doing inside 21 days and the importance of setting the right timetable with the right resources. That was the focal point yesterday. We even came across the OTQs and the number of OTQs you should be doing, like 405 was the number. I hope you remember that, and 10 past papers. Now, on the day 2 today, we are focusing on techniques to success. And in that case, I'll be looking at Section A techniques, then the Section B techniques. I'll be looking at practice with examiner report, how crucial examiner reports are. I did recommend that yesterday to read them, but I'll try to give you a better idea about how you go about examiner reports and what can be the benefit at this point in time when exams are just 3 weeks away. Case-specific answer, because that's crucial for Section B. Well-developed point, again, very crucial for Section B. Stop idealizing the examiner answers. We look at the pros and cons of idealizing the examiner answer today. Time management, that's utmost important. Nazuza was asking me a question, can we start with Section B first and Section A after? In that case, the time management will play a crucial part. We'll come to that. And what should you do on the day of exam, particularly if you get something you don't know? How would you deal with it? And day 3 tomorrow comes with inspiration, motivation from my high achievers from December and March 24 exams. So just wait for that day 3 to come tomorrow. Let's open the day 2. So welcome to day 2. It's about techniques to success. Obviously, all of you must be technically sound. All of you must have a good grasp of the syllabus. All of you must know the syllabus area A, B, C, D, E, and you should be good on that. But alone, the technical grasp and alone the knowledge would not help you pass the AA paper. You need the right exam techniques to pass. And that's what I'm focusing on today as the second dimension of success in this webinar to success. So let's focus on what sort of techniques you all need to achieve success in the upcoming exams. Okay, so right here we are with exam techniques. And firstly, we're looking at exam techniques for Section A, the 30 marks section. Okay, now the first thing on the left column, I tried taking some extracts from the recent December 23 examiner report for Section A, and this is what the examining team told us about Section A. Section A consists of 3 OT cases. We discussed that yesterday. It has 15 OT questions, each worth 2 marks. We spent time on that yesterday. But the more important thing I would like to discuss with you today, where I need to build upon Section A, is the red line coming from the examiner report, which covers a broad range of syllabus topic. You need to have the depth of syllabus. If you need to be really good on OT questions, you want to score really good from 30 marks, your depth of syllabus coverage is all very important, because you have no idea from where the OT question will come from. Some of them are case specific, so you can read out the case and try to answer, try to take the right answer. But some are knowledge testing OTQs for which you should have a good grasp of the syllabus. So if examiner gives you an OT case, and with that OT case, you have 5 OT questions, there is a probability that out of those 5, 2 are linked with your knowledge and 3 are coming from the case study. You have to read the case and then answer it. So broad range of syllabus topic. How would you ensure that you have that broad range of knowledge within 21 days left for the double exams? On the right-hand side, I tried to link that with the day 1 yesterday. First of all, I mentioned on the day 1 yesterday for OT questions that technical articles, I did recommended 14 technical articles. And if you attended the day 1 yesterday, I wrote against some articles K. That was knowledge. I hope you remember that. You need to read those knowledge articles, because you can get a certain OT question from within that knowledge given in the examining team article, because articles are written by the examiner, and it is the examiner mindset which has to come on the day of exam, right? So follow the examiner mindset, follow the articles as one way of having a quick grasp of knowledge. So I recommended 14 articles yesterday. Some of them had an annotation of K, knowledge. You can focus on that. Secondly, I did mention yesterday the flashcards, or from the ACCA Study Hub. I hope you remember that. I even shown you the option to print those flashcards from ACCA Study Hub of a total of 7 pages or 6 pages. Could be beneficial as a quick revision. You can have your summary notes by now because you were studying before the webinars. So either you are a self-study student or you are under a tutor. Irrespective of that, you must have made your notes. So that could be a good source of revising the depth of the syllabus. Key pointers can be really beneficial at this time to revise up. So if you have noted some key pointers for every chapter within AA, that could be a good source of taking the right grasp of knowledge which is needed for OTQs. Lastly, on the day one, we discussed 405 OTQs. I hope you remember that number, and I hope you remember the breakdown of that number. Plenty of those OTQs were on the ACCA Study Hub. Majority of them were on ACCA Study Hub. I hope you remember that breakdown in the table. And if you do these 405 OTQs, will you be in a safe zone? Tell me. Will you be in a safe zone that there might be a repetition among this 405? So if you do these 405, will it give you a good grasp of the syllabus even, right? You will have a good grasp of syllabus area A, B, C, D, E. Because you remember I shown you the quizzes on ACCA Study Hub yesterday. The quizzes were as per the chapters. So you can revise those chapters through quizzes, and that could be a good amount of practice you can have for Section A, which is worth 30 marks in the AA paper. Try to aim of getting at least 20 out of 30 from the Section A. I'll demonstrate how you can excel on that shortly. Moving on, I need to look into the time management we have for Section A and some challenges the students have in a Section A of the AA paper before I just give you a sort of a drill on the practice platform. Students seems to be in a rush when they're doing the Section A. I don't know why. Or at times, the students do the Section B first. Nazuza, you asked me that question. Or at times, students do Section B first and spend most of the time in B and then come back to A with less time and make a mess of the section. Even if you're doing B first, there is an ideal time for B. I'll be telling you that. So do B within an ideal time, come back to A, so you have an ideal time for A as well. I'll show you how much time you have for A and B, so you can fit that within it. So you do B first or you do A first. Every section has a time you have to do within it. But I have seen so many students rushing on OTQs. I don't know why are they in a hurry over OTQs, why they just want to get over the OTQs and get into the Section B. It is 30% of the paper. You have 54 minutes for Section A. It's almost an hour, 54 minutes. So give it a proper time. Don't rush and try to score good marks from here. 54 minutes. Now divide these 54 minutes by 3. You have 3 OT cases, right? You have 3 OT cases. So 54 divided by 3, I think it's roughly like 18 minutes per OT case, right? Am I right? So it's 18 minutes you're giving to every OT case. You can read the case, you can read the questions, you can double read the questions, and then think of the right answer. I'll just show you a very good technique of how to tackle the OT questions. I'll demonstrate one OT case today, and I'll demonstrate how you can excel looking at that technique, which I'll demonstrate today over the course of the next 21 days. So you have good enough time, all of you, 54 minutes, but I don't know why you are in such a state of rush over OT questions, knowing the fact that if you score 0 out of 30 or 5 out of 30 or 10 out of 30, you're making your passing difficult in the double A paper. Next thing, read the scenario and questions carefully. Spend good time on it. Make yourself familiar with the questions to improve prospects of taking the right answer. You can read the question once, quite possible you don't understand it. Read it the second time, you might understand it. So at times at the first go, it's difficult to understand the question or the options. Read the options again, you might understand it better. You have 18 minutes per OT case, which is plenty. Some of the OT questions you might click within just like 30 seconds, 40 seconds. They might be so straightforward. Some of the OT questions might be challenging, which you have to reread again and think of the right answer. You might not get the right answer in the first reading, but there are prospects of getting the right answer in the second and third reading. Remember, you have 18 minutes per OT case. So try not to be in a rush. The most important thing is in the bullet number 4, and I'll be demonstrating that. If you don't know an answer of an OT question, simply flag it. You have an option to flag in the computer-based exams. I'll just show you that if you don't know that, and move on. Flag and move on. No time for staring at the screen. So suppose there is an OT question and you're reading it, and glaring at the screen, and you're just getting confused. You don't know what to do. You're confused between A, B, C, D, which is the right answer, and you're wasting your time glaring at the screen for any sort of divine help. Just leave it. Just flag it. Move on. Anything you flag at the end of the exam, you can check the navigator, and from the navigator, you can check the flag areas, and you can go back to the flag areas and do it. And I'll just demonstrate that. I hope you know the concept of flagging and checking the flag areas at the end of the exam when you have 15, 20 minutes remaining, and go back to the flag areas and do them. So anything you don't know, flag it and move on. It's useless to glare at the screen for no use. Is bullet number 4 clear to all of you before I demonstrate that, taking an OT case in perspective? Is everyone sound and clear with this? Okay, great. Now just let me implement what I just said to you. We'll go back to the practice platform. I hope you can all see the practice platform on your screen. Please confirm that. Great. Okay, you move down, and I'm just looking at one of the exam question for the illustration of an OT question. And I'm taking the mock exam, which ACCA published for June 24 on the 13th of May. So I'll open up the AA pre-June mock. I hope you can see that on your screen. I'm just clicking the next button because these are all instructions you are familiar with. Okay. Okay, now can you see the pre-June 24 mock on your screen? This is the mock which ACCA released on 13th of May. I'm just taking one example of an OT question, an OT case from it. Can you see the case study on the left-hand side of the screen? All of you? And can you see on the right-hand side the OT questions? Now, how much time you have for each OT case? Question number 1 to 5? 18 minutes, right? And you have a timer on the screen. So you know when 18 minutes are ending, when you start the exam. So the first question, you read the question first or you read the case first, tell me. What is the right approach? Reading the question first or reading the case first? Very bad answer, Reshma. You always read the question first, whether it is section B or it is section A, because you read the question and you understand what I need to get out of the case. Because in OT questions, some of the OT questions might not have any link to the case. Some of the OT questions are direct, are straightforward. They're just testing your knowledge. So does every OT question has a link to the case study? Yes or no? Does every OT question has a link to the case study? No. Some of them have it. So read the question and understand, do I need to go back to the case or no? Just let me demonstrate you. So suppose this is my 18 minutes and I look at the first question. It's like 5:47 here in Pakistan. So let's see by when we wrapped it up. First question, what should Sarah, the engagement partner, do regarding her personal relationship with CFO? So the engagement partner has a personal relationship with the CFO. What should she do? Now, when you have a personal relationship with CFO, what is the ethical threat? It's familiarity, right? So if the engagement partner has a familiarity threat with CFO, what should she do? You have 4 options here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell me which is the right answer. A, B, C, D. You have 4 bullets, right? Just let's do them A, B, C, D. Read and tell me the right answer. The engagement partner has a familiarity threat with the CFO. What should she do? I'm waiting for your answers. A, B, C, D. Okay, majority are going with C. Let's see, C is the right answer. Perfect. Rescue or remove herself from the engagement. That's perfect. You cannot disclose your relationship to the audit committee because you have to take the safeguard on yourself. Maintain confidentiality, that's absolutely wrong because you are in a relationship, you have to take an action. Accept the situation, that's perfectly wrong because you cannot accept the situation and continue with the audit as an engagement partner. You have to remove yourself as an engagement partner and appoint another engagement partner for this particular company. So see, does this question has a link to the case study? No, in the options, there is no option like such, Ramesh. So was there any link to the case study? We know this is a familiarity threat, and we looked at the 4 options and we choose the best one. So we're done. The first one, rescue or remove herself from the engagement. Click, and you press the next button. Okay, the next question from the same scenario. What action should be taken by the audit team regarding the early recognition of revenue? So there is an early recognition of revenue. What Okay, so we were discussing the first OT question. I hope you all got clarity on that. We were on the second OT question when we got some sort of disconnectivity. I hope you're all clear with it. What action should be taken by the audit team regarding the early recognition of revenue? What is an early recognition of revenue? Is that a is that a misstatement without even reading the scenario? Early recognition of revenue, is that a misstatement? And generally, what action you take on a misstatement without even reading the case study? Tell me the answers. You have 4 options, A, B, C, D. Tell me which is the correct answer for a misstatement like an early recognition of revenue. You have 4 options, A, B, C, D. Tell me which is the right one. Great, you all have done the mock exam. That means D is the right answer. You can also read from the case study a paragraph on early recognition. If you go down, you can see there is a paragraph over here, right over here, which is about the early recognition of revenue, right here. Can you just read this paragraph quickly? It says, during the audit, the team discovered that Unihart Corporation had overstated its revenue. So that's a misstatement by recognizing sales early. The CFO requested the auditors to overlook this issue. This is quite a strange behavior of CFO. emphasizing that it was one-time occurrence and would influence the company's stock prices negatively. So he just want you not to look into this early recognition of revenue, because he believes this is one time and this will negatively impact the share prices of the company. And this is a material issue. So what action will you take for an early recognition of revenue? Definitely, you will report it to the appropriate level of management and those charged with governance, that they and request that they correct the misstatement. That is a perfect answer. So see at how quickly you can do the OTQs. You just need some clever mindset there. Some of them will connect to the case, some of them will not. You go to the next one. Okay. Regarding the invitation to a lavish dinner. What dinner? Lavish. Is it a normal dinner? No. Is it an extraordinary dinner? Is it something special? Is the examiner deliberately using the word lavish? So lavish means something special, something extraordinary, something which will compromise the objectivity of the auditor. Had it been a normal dinner, would have been fine, but this is something special. So a lavish dinner. Which of the following threats to objectivity may arise? Now, even you don't read the lavish dinner on the left-hand side of the screen. Normally, if you are giving a lavish dinner, you all know as an AA student, what sort of ethical threats arise with a lavish dinner? Tell me, which of the options should I go with? 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 2 and 4, 1 and 3. Perfect, perfect, perfect. 1 and 3. Because whenever you have a gift in hospitality is considered as a bribe. It's a self-interest. And because you will attend the lavish dinner, so you will have a lot of familiarity, a lot of sympathetic relationship with the client management. So familiarity and self-interest is the right answer. See, did we read the case? At times, there is no need to read the case. You can take on the spontaneous answer and can save a time. At times, you need to go to the case and see what exactly is happening in the case to fetch the right answer. So not necessarily all the 15 OT questions you have in double exam are all linked to case study. Some of them, or 50% of them, could be on your journal knowledge. And something like 50% could be case specific. Okay, move on. We need to understand how you flag an OT question. If you don't know an OT question, how would you flag it? So just let's do the next example around that. Okay, can you see this next OT question on your screen? It says, which of the following safeguard would not be relevant in mitigating the threat in relation to the fees? So which of them is not a relevant safeguard? Which of them is not a relevant safeguard, right? So you have to pick the odd man out, right? So which of them is not, which is the odd man? Suppose we don't know the answer of this in exam and we are just struggling to find the answer. So what will I do? I'll share the answer with you, but just want to show you. I'll go to the navigator. I hope you can see the navigator on the screen. This is the question number 4 in section A. So I go to the question number 4 and I click the flag. Can you see the flag? Clicked, red flag. Question number 4, which of the following safeguard would not be relevant in mitigating the threat? I don't know the answer. I'm not wasting the time. I'll flag it, close it, and I move on. I move on to the next question. And then I move to the next and next and next and next and next, and I finish off the paper. In the last 10 minutes of the paper, when I was doing my last paper, last question number 25, something like this, and I finished off my last question and I checked my clock. I have 7 more minutes to go. I recall, let me confirm, have I left any question? I click on the navigator and I check the navigator. Is any question flagged? And I saw, oh, there is one question I flagged. I'll click on that question again, question number 4 in the last 7 or 5 minutes, and I'll go back to the question. Sorry, I'll just go back to that flagged question right here. And I'll think, what's the right answer in like last 4 minutes or 5 minutes? there is no negative marking. So I can just at least tick something in a luck that my answer could be right. So is everyone getting the option to flag and move on before we take the right answer? Okay. What sort of safeguards would not be relevant in mitigating the threat identified in relation to fees? Let's see what is the threat in relation to fees before we take which is the wrong safeguard here. Can you just read this paragraph here on the left-hand side of the screen? I highlighted in blue. I'm giving you just 10 seconds for that. Can you just read this blue paragraph quickly and tell me you've read it? So do they have a high dependency on client, 16%, and last year 15.5%? Have they exceeded 15% of the total income of the firm for 2 consecutive years? I hope you remember the rule. Have they exceeded 15% of the total income of the firm for 2 consecutive years? So are they under a threat? Yes. So what safeguard can they take? Now, examiner is asking you, which of the following would not be a relevant safeguard in mitigating the identified threat? Now tell me which of the following is not the right safeguard. Some of them will be right. Try to find the odd man. Which is the odd man in this list? A, B, C, D. Okay, perfect. You're all super students. C, use of separate teams. Use of separate team is not a relevant safeguard for fees. Use of separate team is a relevant safeguard for what? Use of separate team is a relevant safeguard for a self-review threat. It's not a relevant safeguard for a self-interest threat. So C is the right answer. Great, great going, all of you. The last one. Okay, the last one. The CFO of the client has expressed urgency in finalizing the audit report. So CFO is in a hurry. He wants to finalize the audit. You know, CFO is very sort of is something, he's involved in something wrong. He just want to get over that revenue recognition as well. So he just want an urgency to meet the deadlines. The audit team felt pressured to wrap up the audit quickly, even though some areas required additional scrutiny. So the CFO just want the audit to be packed up. He's in a hurry to meet the deadlines. He's pressurizing you, remember? He's pressurizing you so that you don't be skeptical, you don't investigate things up, just like you investigated the early recognition of revenue. So CFO just want to pressurize you here, right? So as an auditor, which of the following would be the most appropriate safeguard to mitigate this threat? Yes, he's trying to intimidate you, right? So which of the following is the most appropriate safeguard when the CFO is trying to pressurize you as an auditor? A, B, C, D. Definitely C. A, agree with CFO. You cannot agree with CFO. That's absolutely wrong. Resign from the audit. Why? You are still in the audit. Reduce the sample size. No. If you reduce the sample size, are you coming under the pressure? Tell me. If you follow the D, are you coming under the pressure of CFO? Right? So what's the left option? The audit partner should politely, whenever you are under intimidation, you politely discuss that with finance director or anyone, that the team would undertake the audit in accordance with relevant professional standards, will not compromise on pressure, will do what we need to do, even that takes a bit of more time. So C is the right answer. We started at 5:47 and we're ending at 6:01. So technically we just took 14 minutes. We had 18 minutes of the total time. Even though I discussed with you, we had a lot of discussions. We had a lot of examples of how to flag, go ahead, come back. We wasted a lot of time, still 14 minutes. So are you understanding that you should not rush? Even with that amount of discussion, we took 14 minutes. And how much time you have for every OT case with 5 questions in exam? Everyone? 18. So is that a lot? Is that something you can do the best? And are you understanding that not every OT question has a link to the case study. Some of them is just testing your knowledge. So I hope you're getting some sort of exam techniques for the section A, and you would take them to your actual exam paper for June 2024. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so is everyone sound with section A, exam techniques, the 405 OT questions you need to do from day one? I hope you got an idea of the time management for section A and how you go about reading it. It's to read the question first and the case after, because not necessarily every question has a connection with the case. So anyone who has a thought process of reading the case first, you're on a wrong side. Yes, it is. It is important to read the questions first. That's the right strategy, Umar, for section A and B. You read the question first, then only you will know, should I do the case, or the answer is natural. So we read the questions and we got to know that most of them were natural questions. There were no linkage with the case. So it's the question first and the case after. That's quite a natural exam technique. I don't know why students are doing are very skeptical on this. This is what we do in SPL paper I teach, and even in the AAA paper I teach. In every theoretical paper, you read the question first and then the case after. That's how you know how you will link it. Okay, now moving on to the more important section. Section B, 70% of your success, 70% of the paper AA. Let's see how important it is and what you should do to excel. Section B, write exam techniques. Examiner report. In section B, candidates are presented with one constructive response question worth 30 and two worth 20 each. We discussed that yesterday on day one. The important thing I would like to emphasize is the red statement. Understanding and application of audit and assurance in more depth. So examiner expects in section B that you have an application of audit and assurance syllabus in more depth, because these are descriptive questions. But the good thing with section B is so predictable. It's so organized. It's so systematic. You know what comes in section B, and that is the best thing you can excel on in the section B. So section B needs the application of your core syllabus area. And you know the core syllabus area is the syllabus area B, C, D, and E. B is your audit and planning, C is your internal control, D is the audit evidence, and E is completion and reporting. Ethics or corporate governance from syllabus area A do come in section B, but not very often. Mostly ethics is in section A in OT questions, just as we saw it in the mock exam. But sometime, rarely, we do find ethical threats and safeguard coming in section B, along with corporate governance weaknesses and recommendations. Okay, from the day one yesterday, how would we prepare for the section B? I did mention on the day one, 10 past papers, including mock. I hope you remember that. I hope you remember the definition of the 10 past papers from day one, including the mock. Okay, means 30 exam questions, because in every past paper, you will get 3 CR questions. So 3 multiplied by 10 is 30 CR questions. That's plenty. And when you do these 30, you will find similarities, you will find repetition, you will find, oh, this is something I've done in the previous past paper. You will find so much repetition. So please ensure you do the 10 past papers and you excel on the 70% of the paper, because if you do these 30 CR questions, you are in a good position to pass the upcoming June 24 exams, because you know there is so much repetition in section B. Let's find out the repetition. Let's find out what exactly comes in section B and how well we are prepared for it. What is asked for in section B? Section B is more structured in terms of what is asked for. I repeated that yesterday, even repeating that today, just to reinforce that. Knowledge testing in section B. Section B is not just application. Section B is not just case study. You will get some questions which are just testing your knowledge. And I'll give you a list of that, which can't be ignored. Please ensure you read all the technical articles I recommended you on the day one, because that is one good thing you can do to survive the knowledge that is tested within the section B of the paper. I have done a scan of 6 papers, 6 recent papers, and the mock exam, 7. So I've done a scan of 7 papers to identify what sort of knowledge comes in the past paper, and you will be amazed. There is so much repetition just in the 7 papers I have scanned for this webinar out of the total 10 papers, 6 recent exams and 1 mock exam. And I'll just show you a list of the knowledge. Audit risk and responses, you know, that's a favorite area of your examiner. Sometime asking you 6 audit risks, sometime asking you 5, sometime asking you 8. Sometime the examining team do ask you to calculate 3 ratios and give results of the ratios and so on and so forth. But you must be familiar, if you've done the 30 questions on constructed response side, you must be familiar with the type of question you get on audit risk. There is an article on audit risk as well. Please ensure you read that. Was identified on the day one. Direct controls or key controls and the test of control. You know, a question comes on direct controls from the scenario. You need to identify the direct controls and you need to tell how that direct control is addressing the risk of material misstatement, because a direct control is a control which reduces the risk of material misstatement or which mitigates the risk of material misstatement. So a direct control is a good control, is an excellent control put in place by the management, which is reducing or mitigating the risk of material misstatement. So you need to justify from the scenario that this is a direct control because this is mitigating the risk of material misstatement, and then a test of control to test that it's operating effectively as given in the scenario. Key control and direct control is the same thing. The new terminology is direct control. Key control has become an obsolete terminology for 2024 exams. Control deficiencies and recommendations. You know, that's a favorite question, asking you to identify deficiencies 5, 6, 7, and giving recommendations. At times, even examiner asks for test of control in this question. Substantive procedures, case-specific substantive procedures. Examiner give you small cases for 4 marks, 5 marks, 3 marks, and ask you to make procedures on something, something, something. We'll be seeing that in the mock exam shortly. So you have shorter cases on substantive procedures. What are techniques you can apply on that? We'll be coming to that shortly. Implication for the audit report. You know, that's one of the last question in section B that examiner asks you for 4 to 5 marks, that there is an issue and if the issue is unresolved, what will be the implication of the unresolved issue on the audit report? You do get going concern as well. You do get subsequent events as well in the implication for the audit report. Sometimes the examiner do test the key audit matters as well. So this is what is section B for. Very structured, very organized. If you do the 30 CR questions, you will have no struggling element in section B. And I always tell my student, aim for scoring 50 out of 70. You can do that. So that means alone section B can help you pass the paper. And you're already getting marks in section A. But you need to score like 45, 50 out of 70 with so much repetition, with so much organized section B. You know what comes, you know how it comes, you know how to write. Then why are you not excelling in section B? So students scoring 72, 74, 76, and 78 marks in AA, even my students in the recent exams, that is doable, right? And some of them will be talking to you tomorrow. So is everyone clear with the checklist of section B before we get into the exam techniques of section B, looking at the knowledge testings in section B? Okay, that's great. Okay, knowledge. Now, just before the start of the webinar today, I had a look at the 7 papers, 6 recent papers, and the mock exam to identify knowledge. And I was amazed to see so much repetition. You can just look at this checklist. Something from this checklist can come in June 24 exams even. How many papers you have to do? 10. I've already scanned 7, which is, and you can scan the remaining 3 for other knowledge questions. And that list would be so exhaustive that something from that list can come in the June 24 exams. Let's look at the list. Knowledge questions in the past papers, including the mock exam. Describe the 5 components of an entity system of internal control. You must be familiar with this, right? I'm not giving you the answers. I'm giving you the questions. You can prepare the answers, right? Explain the purpose of an audit engagement letter. So purpose of the audit engagement letter, that's one thing. Then you can see this word and. A lot of time in the exam pressure, you don't look at the word and. So purpose is half the marks, and then list, not explain, list 4 items to be included in the engagement letter. So there is 2 parts of the question, purpose and list the items. Prepare the answer. List 4 control objectives of a sales system. Anything can come in. 4 control objectives of a wage system, payroll system, any system, purchase system. List 4 control objectives of a sales system. In line with the ISA 220 quality management for an audit of the financial statements, describe the auditor responsibility. What is the auditor responsibility in relation to supervising and reviewing the work performed during the external audit of Lapis company? What is the auditor responsibility for supervising and reviewing the work as per the ISA 220 quality management? This is the question. You need to know the answer in terms of supervising and reviewing. What is the responsibility of the auditor in terms of the work performed? If you're struggling with the answer, you can ask me in the WhatsApp group. Number 5, briefly explain how each of the following source of information will be used by the Hercules and company to gain an understanding of night electronics at the planning stage of the audit. You know, at the planning stage of the audit, you do take understanding of the business. So each of the following source, how will you use that in terms of taking knowledge? Prior year audited financial statements, how would you use that in taking the knowledge? Prior year financial statements can give you a lot of analytical results, like what has increased, what has decreased. You can get to know whether anything has been modified in the last year, any issues in the last year audit report. Current year budgets, how can that help you in taking the knowledge? Management accounts, prior year reports, board meetings, and company website. So how each source will help you taking the knowledge of the business. So for every source, you have to tell what benefit will you get from the source, what knowledge will you get from this source. So even if you give one example of knowledge, that is excellent. So how each source will help you with knowledge. Next, describe 4 methods that the auditor should consider in determining whether a deficiency identified in internal control is significant. So what is the criteria to conclude that a deficiency is significant? Please, you should have an answer for that. I hope you already have it with exams 21 days away. Next, describe, and this is repetitive. The R means this question has come 2 times. Once it has been written. Second time I wrote the R means 2 times in the last 7 papers. So look at the bracket R. This question has come 2 times in 7 papers. Number 7, describe the factors which the audit engagement partner would consider in determining that this issue is a CAM. It's a knowledge question, right? It's just asking you what matters will the partner consider to conclude that this is a CAM. And this question has come 3 times. 2 times you can see the double R here, and once it's written here. 3 times in the 7 papers. Describe the content of CAM. This question has come 3 times. So 7 and 8 have come 3 times in the last 7 papers. So you should know the content of CAM. You should know how a partner conclude that this is a CAM. Knowledge. Describe the following methods for documenting internal control system, and for each explain the disadvantage using this method. Narrative notes and internal control questionnaire. So for narrative notes and internal control questionnaire, you need to tell the disadvantage of each, and you need to explain each method of documenting the internal control system. You know, this is also a very repetitive question, but in the 7 paper, it came just once. Describe the preconditions of the audit. This has come twice in the last 7 papers. You know what are preconditions, right? 11th, define the term professional skepticism and explain 2 examples from the audit of Corley where the auditor should apply professional skepticism. So the first part is knowledge, define the professional skepticism, but the second part explain two examples, that is case study. How you can apply this to the audit of core lay appliances. So you will see the core lay appliances case study, and you will see some examples from core lay appliances that this is an area I can apply professional skepticism. Just like we were reading a mock exam today, and in the mock exam, we got to know the CFO behavior. The CFO was saying, don't investigate the early recognition of revenue. So do you believe that CFO behavior that he was telling us not to investigate the over early recognition of revenue, is that an area where professional skepticism could be applied? That as to why he's trying to hide something, conceal something? Right? So some sort of that examples, right, could be there in core lay appliances as well. So partially knowledge, partially case. Next, 12. Describe Apricot and Company, that's audit firm, responsibilities in relation to prevention and detection of fraud and error. So, this is quite a typical question. Responsibility for the auditor for preventing and detecting fraud. 13th, describe the limitations of internal control. 14th, explain the importance of audit planning. 15th, define direct control. What is a direct control? I've just given you a definition of a direct control, right? The direct control is a control which addresses the risk of material misstatement, which mitigates the risk of material misstatement, and a direct control is a fundamental part of your day-to-day controls in the organization, right? And describe 3 examples of direct controls other than authorization. Other than authorization, give 3 examples of direct control. Like, for example, bank reconciliations, control accounts, passwords. These are good examples of direct controls, right? Put in place in the organization. So defining the direct control definition, you can take it from the Google. We are living in an era of Google. Everything you just type on the Google definition of direct control and learn it. So easy. Limitations of internal control on Google, learn it. You can put everything on the Google and you can just get the answers rather than going into the books. 15. So can you see these 15 questions from last 7 papers, mock exam and 6 recent exams? I have not taken the practice exams here. You can take them as well. So will you revise this list of 15? Will you find an answer of each of the 15? Will you note the answer down with a pen and paper somewhere and revise it for your day of exam? Will this list of 15 help you, all of you? So have you made a list like such when you were preparing for exams, that these are knowledge questions which frequently comes in past paper? Have you tried to develop such list yourself? That's great, Riddhi. If you made it, that's great. Because that's an easiest way, right? There's so much repetition. So if you have a list like such, you can survive. So I hope you all like this list. And you will add the 3 more papers I have not incorporated here. So that will be a total of 10 papers, and that would be great. So you have a list, you know the answers, and if you're lucky enough, some of the knowledge questions can come in your exam settings. Great. Okay, now moving to the next part of section B. It's not just knowledge, it's more about application in section B. You get long questions like substantive procedures, internal controls, and audit risk and everything. Let's move on to that side. Okay, look at this. This is the first time I'm doing it for any AA webinar. RSPCA, approach to section B questions, and I'll be demonstrating that. This is the first time I'm using this mnemonic, RSPCA. This is the approach you should take for section B, 70 marks. Let's see what RSPCA stands for and how you can do it over the next 21 days. The RSPCA PCA approach. R is requirement. Read first. That is exactly what I was telling you in section A. Read the requirement first. So R stands for requirements. Read it first. So after reading the requirement, should I answer it directly without looking at the case? Or should I read the case and answer it? Number 2, S, scenario. Read it actively. You know that in section B, some of the answer will come from the case and some depends upon your direct knowledge. So if a question is to be connected with the case after you read the requirement, then actively read the scenario to find the answer. Like audit risk, because for audit risk, you have to go into the case. You have to actively read the case and find 6 audit risk or 7 audit risk. Audit risk is not a journal answer, right? You have to read a case for audit risk. So actively read it. Plan how many points to write and how much time. So if the examining team is saying 6 audit risk, you know, okay, I have to write 6. Sometimes the examining team might not tell you 6 and 7, but you look at the number of marks and you decide, okay, how much to write. So if it is an audit risk and response question worth 10 marks, how many audit risk and responses will you be writing? If it is a 10 marks audit risk and response question, how many audit risk will you be writing? 5. Even though examining team is not telling 5. Because you know every risk is worth 1 mark and every response is worth 1 mark, right? You have a marking scheme of 1 in the AA paper, right? Everything is worth 1 mark in AA. Ethics 1, safeguard 1, internal control deficiency 1, recommendation 1, direct control 1, test of control 1. Everything goes on 1, right? 5 risk and 5 responses. Perfect. So plan how many points to write and how much time you have. I'll come to the time management for section B. You had 54 minutes for section A. So how much time you have for section B and how much time you should give to 30 marks question, then to 20 and then to 20. RSPC, create your answer. When you are reading the scenario, copy paste from the scenario, make a skeleton. So you're reading the scenario on audit risk, and on the right hand side of the screen, you have an area to write the answer. So you're reading the scenario, you get a statement, a new audit client. You copy the new audit client and you paste. Then you're reading the scenario, you get something about early recognition of revenue. You copy it and you paste it, early recognition of revenue. Copy paste. So at least once you're done with the reading and planning, you will have a skeleton for audit risk. You will have a skeleton to fill up, to write an answer. So make a skeleton when you are reading and planning. Create means copy and paste. And then A, attack, fill the skeleton with a detailed explanation. So a new audit client, now write the answer. Early recognition of revenue, now write the answer. Convert the answer into what is the risk, what is understated, what is overstated, and write the response. So this is RSPCA, right? I hope you remember that. R is the requirement. The S is the scenario. You need to actively read the scenario. Then P is to plan how much to write and how much time you have. Then C is basically your creation, copy and pasting, and attack is A. I hope you apply that. Let me show you that illustratively. Yes, just let me demonstrate you that, Daniel and everyone. Okay, can you see the practice platform back on your screen? I'm going to the section B now. I'll go to the navigator. And from the navigator, I'll choose 15 questions are under section A. So 16th question will be the section B, right? So I'll go down, 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 down. I can see section B in the navigator. And I click on question number 16. That's where the section B is starting from. I click and I'll reach here. Okay. Now look at the first question. Explain the importance of audit planning. Read first. Now, after reading this question, are you sure you will write a direct answer, or will you go and read the scenario? Is it with scenario or without scenario? Direct. How many marks? 5. So I can just plan before I write. I'll say, okay, importance of planning, bracket 5 divided by 1 mark each. So I need to write a total of 5 points explaining the importance. 5 points, right? Every importance you write will be worth 1 mark. So in total, you should have 5 importance of audit planning. What benefits you will get of audit planning? Okay, you get to the next question then. See, we're not reading the case. We're going to the next question. So RSPCA, we read the requirement first. We got to know no scenarios, no copy paste. Okay, you get to the next one. Describe 8 audit risks and the responses. Now this is scenario. We have 16 marks here, and that's where the scenario has to come in. I'll be showing you the time management later. So currently we're not looking into the time management. So requirement first, scenario after. Actively read the scenario, and then please ensure that you copy paste from the scenario and build up your answer. For example, you read the para first. Today is the 1st of July. Jambo, it's not Jumbo, Jambo, a large mobile phone company which operates a network of stores across Africa. The company year end is 30th of September. You are the audit senior. Jambo is a new client. Jambo is a new client. Audit risk control C, and I press the audit risk control V. Jambo is a new client. I got the answer. I'll just fill up. This is skeleton, right? This is how you do the skeleton. You move on, and it tells you in the second line, during the year, the company has spent $2.2 million on developing the new products. Now that's the I-38. Some of the development cost could be expensed out, and some of them could be capitalized depending upon the criteria. The finance director has confirmed that all projects are likely to be successful, and he intends to capitalize. He intends. So that's the intention of the finance director. Might be wrong as well. So the finance director intends to capitalize the entire 2.2 million. There is a possibility that some of the 2.2 million should be research cost, which should be expensed out. That results in overstatement of the intangible assets and understatement of expenses and overstatement of profits. Control V. So when you're reading the scenario, create, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Now, once you come later to write the answer, you already have a skeleton. You need to fill the skeleton, right? So copy paste help you later to attack the answer, RSPCA. So Jambo is a new client, full stop, and you start writing the answer later. Jambo is a new audit client. This means that Poor and Company, which is the audit firm, Poor and Company would have less knowledge of business, would have less knowledge of business, would have less knowledge of business in the first year audit. This will increase the detection risk. This will increase the detection risk for the audit team, full stop. So this is it. This is a detection risk. And then you write the audit response. Being the first year audit, you need not to rote learn the responses, because responses will come naturally. You look at the situation in the risk column, and then you write the response. Being the first year audit, the audit firm should use more senior resources, and be skeptical to reduce the detection risk to an acceptable level. So because it's a first year audit, you need to ensure you're more skeptical. You're using a senior team, not juniors, to keep the detection risk to an acceptable level, for example, and you finish off. So I hope you are reading the scenario, you are utilizing the scenario under RSPCA. You are making a skeleton and then attacking upon the answer. Again, this is not a webinar where I can write an answer for you, but at least I'm telling you how you can apply the RSPCA. You move on to the next requirement, and it says, describe the substantive procedures you should perform to confirm director bonus payments included in the financial statement. Now, director's bonus payment included in the financial statement. Is this a direct answer? Or is director bonus payment given in the scenario? Should I read scenario about what exactly is director bonus payments? I should read it. There should be something in the scenario, and I can connect with it. Now, if I look at the case, there is a paragraph over here. During the year, directors have been paid a significant bonus, and they have included within the wages and salary. Separate disclosure of the bonus is required by the local laws. Control C, and I bring this whole paragraph in my response area. Look at this. This is the paragraph for bonus. Now I need to make a substantive procedures for this worth 4 marks. So how many substantive procedures will I be writing for 4 marks? 1 each, 1 mark each, right? 4. Okay, now not 4 to 5, 4, right? So have I copy pasted the scenario of the bonus payment from the case in my response area? Will that help me to see the case and write my procedures? Once I write my procedure, should I delete the scenario? Should I delete the copy paste? So once I write my answer, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'll delete this because I don't need this to be submitted to the marker. So why did I copy paste it? For my own satisfaction, right? So I can see this and write it. Now, once I've written it, I'll delete it. So I hope sometime you need to delete the copy paste. In the audit risk answer, you were not deleting it because you're formulating your explanation after it. But in substantive procedure, you can copy paste the para from where you need to write the substantive procedures, write them down, and then delete the paragraph. Don't use Scratchpad because Scratchpad will waste a lot of time moving between Scratchpad and the response option, Mokhtar. I would prefer you do the rough work on the response area, but delete it after. But because if you switch between Scratchpad and the response area, that's wasting your time. Is that clear? So do everything on the response side, but delete it after. Delete it after. Yes, procedures are written in bullets. Actions are written in bullets. Something to be list the terms of engagement letter, that's written in bullets. Otherwise, we write things in paragraph form, right? Like explain the importance of audit planning. We'll write every importance in like 1 to 2 sentences, 2 sentences max. So sometimes you can write bullets. That depends upon the nature of the question, like knowledge questions. Procedures are written in bullets, right? Okay, great. I'll just show you the way of writing procedures shortly. So I'm just holding this question for a minute. So, but director bonus is a paragraph given in the scenario. You need to write it looking at the scenario. And this is what is happening for the last 2.5 years. The procedures in F8 have become more case specific. You need not to learn the assertions and the procedures anymore. You will get a scenario and you write a procedure. This is exactly what I do as a tutor in AAA, because in AAA we used to get scenario based procedures. And that's exactly which has come now in AA for the last 2.5 years. I'll just show you a technique of how you write good procedures on anything given in the case study. But this is how it has to be done in. Then you move on to the next question. Discuss the issue and describe the impact on the audit report if the issue remain unresolved. So you have an issue over here. The issue is given over here. So you need not to read the case because the issue is given above the requirement. So you will just read this issue, save your time. And the examiner is saying if the issue remains unresolved, what will be the impact on the report? But you have 5 marks over here. A lot of time I've seen students that they don't write 5 proper points. Discuss the issue. What is the issue? And describe the impact on the report. Now, for example, I'm not giving you a proper structured answer here, but because this is a 5 marks question, discuss the issue and the impact on the audit report. And you have 5 marks here. 5 marks means divided by 1 mark each. You need to write 5 points. Now, at times you're in a hurry, you just say qualified opinion and it's the story. No, you need to go properly. You might use the first bullet, and in the first bullet, you will tell issue, what is the issue? In the second bullet, you might tell this issue leads to a material misstatement. Or you determine the materiality. You determine the materiality. Is it material? First conclude, is it material? Then take a next look. The issue leads to a material misstatement. Now, if the management is refusing it, it will lead to, for example, I'm not sure, it will lead to a qualified opinion. The qualified opinion will be followed by a basis of qualified opinion in the audit report where the auditor will explain why the qualified opinion has been issued, or why the auditor explain the underlying issue and reason for qualified opinion. Now, some sort of 5 points, you need to fill up these 5 points. Every point should be like 2 to 3 sentences, 2 or 3, 2 or 3. You keep filling up, sometime 2, sometime 3. But when the question is of 5 marks, you cannot just say, this is a material misstatement and the auditor will issue a qualified opinion. Are you getting 5 marks for that? See, Hafsa, if you look at the recent papers, the recent 10 papers, there are no assertion-based procedure. That's the problem. If a student gets to KIT, you're not getting the right exam rigor. The right exam rigor is what's coming in the recent papers. So the recent papers, you are getting a small scenario followed by a substantive procedure. And you need to find the substantive procedure from within the case study. So try to do the 10 papers I've guided you for procedures rather than wasting your time in kits and getting distracted with something which used to come in the early history of F8, not in the recent times of F8. Try to give me the answer for the question I'm solving on the screen. Are you getting the structure of 5? Sometimes the student just say this is a material misstatement and give a qualified opinion. He's so happy. Will the examiner give you 5 marks for just these 2 statements? Try to build up the answer. This is just a skeleton answer. This is just a skeleton answer. So at times you need to build up. So please ensure you need to follow the approach which I just guided you. Requirements, read first. See whether you need to write a direct answer or a case study answer. Read the case just like audit risk or direct a bonus. Plan how many points to write. Create and copy paste. I've shown you that. And then fill up the answer. So I hope you will effectively follow this RSPCA approach over section B and Excel. Is that clear to all of you? Okay, now moving towards the other sides of section B. Please, if you have any specific questions, just hold them. I'll give you 5 minutes at the end of the webinar to take on your questions. Substantive procedures, how to excel on them, because that's one of an area where student tends to struggle. I hope I'm right. How many of you find fear factor in substantive procedures? Quick answers. Say, I do, I don't. I do, I don't. How many of you find substantive procedures as something fearful? Sayyid Essen, please, if you can post your question in the last 5 minutes when I take the Q&A session, because you're again and again posting a question. And I just mentioned that I'll take it later. Okay, so most of you do find it, except for Umar, who says, I don't. Nazuza says, I don't. Realistically, they're so simple. But I don't know you're using the right exam technique, because if you're not using the right exam technique, then that's an issue you're creating with writing not a very good substantive procedure. I hold it the director bonus for the reason that I want to demonstrate these techniques. This is a mnemonic, which I think formulated 5 years down the road for my AA and AAA students, that this is how you can excel on substantive procedures, because in the same scenario, you get them in AAA paper as well. Case-specific procedures, right, in recent years, just like a director bonus we saw. So if you look at the recent 10 papers, you will get an idea that scenarios are given for substantive procedures. No assertions, no linking to assertions, right? Apply CASP to excel your procedures. Now you have a scenario like a director bonus in the mock exam, and you have to apply CASP. What is CASP basically? C is case specific. So you had a case for director bonus. You need to find the procedures from within the case. Number 1, action. Every procedure should start with an action. Review, discuss, inquire, cast, agree, trace, So these are actions of the auditor. Auditor trace, auditor agree, auditor reconcile, auditor recalculate, auditor discuss. Start with an action. If a procedure has no action, it's not a procedure. Source. Every procedure you are writing should have a source or a subject matter. Discuss. With whom? Review. What? Recalculate. What? Inquire. Whom? Agree. What? Cast. What? If you can ask questions like such, you will get the subject matter. I hope you're clear on subject matter, right? Discuss with whom? Review what? Recalculate what? Agree what? Cast what? So if you ask these questions, you get the answer, and that's the subject matter. And finally, the purpose. Every procedure should have a purpose. You know, when we write procedure, we say to ensure, to confirm. So if you are reviewing something, why? If you are recalculating something, why? If you are discussing something, why? If you are casting something, why? Purpose. So 4 essentials of a good procedure, CASP. I hope you all are fine on that, right? Now, just let me show you that a bit on the director side. I hope you can find the practice platform again. We had the director bonus, and we copy pasted the scenario of the director bonus. I just give you one example and you can continue on with it. We had the case. So this is the case which I'll delete after. During the year, directors have each been paid a significant bonus, right? And this have been included within the wages and salary. Now, first of all, they have been paid a significant bonus. So there must be an approval of that from the board of directors. So the board must have approved the director's bonus and the amount and the basis. On which basis are we giving them bonus? On the basis of good performance or on the basis of financial indicators or non-financial indicators? So that's number one. I'll say review. Review is an action. Review the board minutes of Jambo Company, because that's the name of the company, making it more specific. Review the board minutes of Jambo Company to confirm the basis of awarding bonus to directors. What are the basis of giving them bonus? Performance, financial, non-financial. To confirm basis of awarding bonus to directors. If they say it's on performance, I'll say performance. Okay, is the performance going up or down? So I see the performance going down, still they're giving bonus, which is wrong. Just an example, right? To confirm the basis of awarding bonus to directors and the overall approval and the overall approval of the significant bonus. So 2 things, right? The overall approval and the basis. Yes, the basis is the criteria, right? So review is the action. Board minutes is the subject matter. Review what? Review what? Board minutes. Okay, of which company? Jambo. For what? To confirm. To confirm what? It's written. So significant bonus, I need a board approval. They have been included within the wages and salary. So I can agree the bonus. I can agree the bonus paid to, I can agree the bonus paid from the schedule of bonus to the bank statements and cash books to ensure accuracy of the amount paid. So because the bonus has been paid, I can check them to the bank statements. I can check the bank statement back to the schedule of bonus, or I can agree the schedule of bonus to the bank statement to ensure it is the right amount, right? What's coming in the schedule is also coming in the bank statement. There is no discrepancy between the bank statement amount and the schedule amount. Both should be same. So to confirm the accuracy, agree is action. Schedule of bonus is the subject matter. Bank statement is the subject matter. To ensure is the purpose. Disclosures. Review the disclosure notes. Review the disclosure notes in the financial statements to confirm whether a complete disclosure of the director bonus is given as per laws and regulations. Something like that. I've given you 3. You need to write the 4th one. Review, right? So every procedure was starting with action. Every procedure had a subject matter like the disclosure notes, and every procedure had to ensure, to confirm. That's the purpose. And it's coming out of the case study given over here. Just the 2 lines helping me writing 3 procedures in the shortest possible time. You can deviate from it, right? This is just one idea, right? This is not a rule of thumb I've given you on the screen. But I was trying to give you an example of CASP. Have you found it effective within the shortest possible time of this webinar? Will you continue with CASP, noting the case study and then writing upon the answer? And once you're done with the answer, please ensure you remove the paragraph from the screen like this. So only substantive procedures will be there in your response area. I'm just keeping it for the sake of knowledge. Okay, just let's go back and wind up the webinar. I hope you can find some betterment to procedures around case-specific answer. You know that section B, a lot of questions like audit risk and response and control deficiencies or direct controls or implication for the audit report, discuss the issue. These are all depending upon case or even the audit procedure. So you need to write a case specific answer. You cannot just go with rote learning. You need to adapt. You need to tailor. Any student who is not tailoring according to the situation, who is not adapting according to the situation, you're not passing the AA paper. Because if you've just learned something and you just put that thing in the paper without adapting it according to the need of the scenario, you're not passing. You need to tailor, absorb the case, read the case. We found that in RSPCA that you need to study the case effectively, find the answer, any answer which links with case. Take sound judgments within the case, like response. It's the first year audit. What should I do? Take proper judgments within the context of the case. Director bonus. What should I do? Should I check the board minutes because it was a significant bonus? Right actions or right procedures or right safeguards which are best suited to the case. So that's important exam technique for section B. Develop procedures, just I told you, from within the case information. So I hope you will follow this technique of being case specific in section B. Well-developed point in section B. Well-developed point will vary from a topic to topic. For example, you're writing an audit risk and response. Response could just be 1 sentence long. Being the first year audit, we should use a more experienced team, full stop. That's fine. You need not to drag the response. Test of controls is just like 1 sentence long. Procedures, review the board minutes to confirm the approval of the significant bonus. That's the length. But when you're writing an audit risk, like first year audit, this is the first year audit, the audit team has less knowledge of business, and therefore the detection risk will be high. The length of detection risk versus the length of the second point, development cost of 2.2 million will vary. Because in the development cost of 2.2 million, you first will need to tell whether 2.2 million is material. Then you will be telling that there is a research cost as well. The research cost should be expensed out. What if the research cost has been capitalized? The intangibles will be overstated, expense will be understated, profit will be overstated. So that might take a bit more space than detection risk. So audit risk could be 3 to 4 sentences long. Response could just be 1 sentence long. Control deficiency, because you need to tell the implication of the deficiency. You need to tell if this is a deficiency, what's the implication. So might be like 3 sentences or 4 sentences long. Direct control could be 3 to 4 sentences long. Substantive procedure could be 1, max 2. Implication for the audit report, I just told you if it was a 5 marks requirement, so you need to write 5 minimum points, and every point should be explained in like 2 sentences. So well-developed point. You cannot just say the auditor will issue a qualified report because it's a material misstatement and you get 5 out of 5. No. You say this is a first year audit, so detection risk is high. Writing that much will not give you 1 mark, right? At least develop the point sufficiently well to get marks. No, development cost cannot take place without for a new product without a research cost, because research is done first before you enter into developing a new product, right, Umar? That's quite logical. So research first, development after. And that's always the risk in AA and AAA paper. Okay, finally, time management for section B. We saw the time management for section A. Let's see the time management for section B. 54 minutes, right, we had for section A. So how much for section B? Total time for section B is 126 minutes. Should be used properly between the 30 marks question and the 220 marks question. This includes the reading and planning time. Students don't spend the reading and planning time properly, and that does reflect in their quality of answer, inferior quality of answer. You're in so hurry, you just want to write and write and write and write. You don't bother about reading, understanding the scenario. You don't understand what's in the scenario. You're just like dumping everything you know in your mind. So a day before exam, everything is in the mind. And when you go to the actual exam hall, you just dump everything into the paper, not linking it to the case, not developing things well, not finding what to do and how to do. You're just in a hurry of writing. That's useless. Reading and planning in 126 minutes. This is the breakdown of section B. You have 70 marks, you have 126 minutes. The question number 1, 30 marks, 54 minutes. Reading and planning time is 13 minutes of that 54. You can read, plan, understand, and you can write the answer in 41 minutes. For question 2, 20 marks, you have total 36 minutes. Of that 36 minutes, your reading and planning time is 9 minutes. Your writing time is 27 minutes. Question 3, 20 minutes, 36 minutes you have for 20 marks. Again, same, 9 minutes of writing, reading and planning, and 27 minutes of writing. I hope you stick to this time management. Plenty of time to read and plan the case study, the understanding the requirements to apply RSPCA. And then you have attack. A is attack. You have 40 minutes to attack and write the answer for question number 1. 27 minutes to write an answer for question 2, and same for question 3. I hope you will fit the time management. Nazuza, if you're doing section B first, finish off section B in 126 minutes. So you are left with 54 minutes for section A. So it's not wrong to do B first. You can do B first, but within the time management. Okay, practice with examiner reports. Please, I told you to read some examiner reports yesterday. I mentioned 10 questions, at least do few questions, like 3 to 4 questions with examiner reports. Once you have written the answer, listen to this very carefully. Once you have written the answer of any question, like December 22, audit risk and responses. December 22, right? Audit risk and responses. You wrote the answer. Don't go and see the examiner answers. Don't go and see the examiner answer. Open the examiner report of December 22. And from the examiner report of December 22, read the examiner feedback on the audit risk and response answer. And see what is the examiner telling you about how the student wrote the audit risk and response option. Examiner will tell you what was done bad by the student, what was done wrong by the student in audit risk. And you will see your answer and you say, oh, I've also done this. avoid these in answering future questions. So if you wrote something in your answer and that is criticized in the examiner report, you will cross and say, okay, I'll not do this next time. Next, examiner will tell you this is what the good student did for the audit risk answer in the examiner report. And you'll say, oh, this is exactly what I wrote. Examiner saying this is a good student and oh, I did this, excellent, tick. Implement them into your future answers because you got something right. And then the examiner will tell you in the examiner report advice for future students, what you can do for future audit risk questions, how you can improve your future audit risk questions. Follow that seriously for the next exam setting. So 3 things right from the examiner answers. Weak students, see is that in your answer. Strong students, see is that in your answer. Follow the advice for future exams. If you do certain papers and you check those papers with examiner comments and you learn from those examiner comments, every next question you do on audit risk or every next question you do on controls or implication for audit report or substantive procedures, will improvement come into it gradually? Tell me. Will this approach brings improvement in every next question you do if you look at the red, green, and blue on your screen? So will you make a habit of reading examiner reports? Just let me show you a glimpse of one. Okay, can you see the examiner report for September, December 23 in front of your screen now, all of you? Can you see this examiner report in front of your screen? Okay, great. You go down. Can you see there is an examiner report section B? You open section B and see examiner is giving you examiner report for section B. He's putting the picture of the question and then he's telling you this was a 30 marks question. And then he goes down and he says this was a 5 marks requirement. This was the question, 5 marks. And then he's telling you this is, see, look at the length of commentary just for 5 marks. 1 para, 2 para, 3 para, 4 para, 5. It is disappointing. See, he's also telling the disappointment with the 5 marks question. He's also telling what you could do to get good marks. 16 marks requirement, audit risk. See, look at the commentary. He's telling you how you get marks. Look at this commentary on 16 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 paras. What good student did, what bad student did, and an advice for future. See, examiner is also telling you which questions you can do as an advice. See, he's giving you the question numbers. He's giving you the good questions you can do on audit risk. I don't know, have you used audit report or examiner reports that extensively? So every question you do, will you evaluate your answer of that question with examiner report or examiner answer? Tell me. And what will you find from examiner report? You will compare your answer with examiner report, right? You will see, have I written something in my answer which the examiner is not happy with? Cross. Have I written something in the answer with which the examiner is happy with? Tick. And follow the advice for future exams. In this way, will improvement come in your next audit risk question? Will improvement come in your next internal control question? Will improvement come in the next substantive procedure question? If you do this for 3 to 4 examiner reports, for 3 to 4 papers, you will have a remarkable impact for the June 24 exams. And trust me, you can score 70 plus in AA. See, substantive procedures. He's telling you, look at the commentary on substantive procedure just for 5 marks. 1 para, 2 para, 3 para, 4 para, 5, 6, 7. 7 paras just for a 5 marks question. This is much better than examiner answers. He's telling you what student did good, what student did bad. You can learn from them. He also tells you what is the right procedure, what is the wrong procedure. I hope you will follow this guidance seriously. Practice with examiner reports. I hope you're getting the message right. Is everyone clear what to do with examiner reports? And how would you go about doing them? Understand the issue, red. Understand the strengths, green. Understand the examiner advices, blue. You can keep 3 markers with you. Download the report. Underline the reds. When you're reading the examiner report, anything wrong, underline that in red. Anything good, underline that in green. Any advice, underline that in blue. That will give you a lot of learning. Great. Finally, stop idealizing examiner answers. They're lengthy. They're too lengthy. You can learn, but you cannot replicate them. Caution. You can see those backdrop. Caution. Stop idealizing examiner answers. Examiner answers, first of all, are tutorial guidance. Examiner will write more. I just seen an answer. List 4 control objectives. How many control objectives we need to list? 4. I saw the examiner answer. He wrote 10. Any student who does not know what is right, what is wrong, he will say, okay, if the examiner asks me to write 4 control objectives, I need to write 10. And he goes to the exam hall. Examiner asks, list 4 control objectives, he write 10. Explain 8 audit risk. And you see the examiner answer, he wrote 12. Why? Tutorial guidance. He wants to guide you. He wants to tell you the maximum possible ways you could have written the audit risk answer, the maximum possible audit risk available in the scenario. He wants you to learn for future exams. He's not saying that you have to write this much. I hope you're getting my point. So examiner answers are tutorial guidance. Examiner writes a lot. He wants to guide you and me as a tutor, as a student. He wants you to tell that this was all possible, but out of all possible, you need to write 8 audit risk. List 4 control objectives, write 4, not 6, not 8. Contain all points that could have been developed. So examining team is not writing the answer in 180 minutes or in 126 minutes for section B. They're writing the best answer to guide you for future exams, that these are all possibilities and all possible ways you can do the paper, but you need to stick to the time management and you need to stick to the marking scheme. Are lengthy as examiner tries to justify every aspect for the sake of learning. You will never complete your exam if you follow and idealize the examiner answers and fail. Replicating the examiner answer, no. You can learn from it. You can learn a good way of writing. But if you try to replicate, you try to idealize the examiner answer, or if you believe this is the benchmark to pass, that is wrong. Examining team answers is not a benchmark. If that would have been a benchmark of passing, honestly, the AA passing rate would have been 3 to 4%. I hope you're getting the point. So I'm not saying not use them, but not idealize them, not replicate them. You can learn from them. You can take something good from them and you can summarize that. But if you idealize them, you take them as a benchmark, that is absolutely wrong. I hope you're clear on that, right? Examiner reports is the document to be used if you want to exceed 70 plus score in AA. Exam techniques, finally, for the day of exam. We have been discussing exam techniques for section A and B, what you need to do from now till the day of exam. I hope that will be effectively used. Now, finally, in the last few minutes of this webinar today, we're already over time. Exam techniques for the day of exam. What to do on day of exam. Be calm, control your nerves. You've studied, you have prepared. You have come to the exam hall with all your efforts. Don't waste it. Calm yourself, control yourself. Number 2, the paper you will open will be a new case study and you're reading it for the first time. But you have done sufficient practice, 405 OTQs, 10 papers around constructed response. You've read plenty of examiner reports. So don't worry, you will find a lot of similarities and a lot of things which you can do. You have, number 3, you have practiced plenty. You must have seen a lot of requirements and dimensions in case study. So you will handle it. Don't worry. Number 4, follow the techniques you learned before the big day and ensure each of them is implemented. The techniques you learned through this webinar, through any other source, please ensure you learn it and you implement it, sorry. Number 5, stick to the time management. 54 minutes for section A, 126 minutes for section B. And when the time ends, move on. Don't spend extra time on any section. Number 6, if you don't know any requirement or it seems challenging at the first go, leave it, flag it, and move on. I just shown you how to flag it and move on. Come back in the last 10-15 minutes and review the flagged requirements and do whatever you can do. There is no negative marking. Number 7, don't spoil your rest of the paper for something you don't know. Just forget it and move on. Flag it, move on. So suppose there is a 5 marks question, you don't know it. There is a 2 marks OTQ, you don't know it. Or there is a 6 marks, total 6 marks OTQs, you don't know, leave them. You don't know a 5 marks question in section B, leave it. So suppose you don't know 12% of the paper. Leave the 12% paper, flag it. What about 88% of the paper? Can you do it? I don't know why the student look at half the glass is empty. Why they don't look at half the glass is full. Why you don't look at optimism? Why you look at pessimism? Why you don't look at 88% of the paper you know and you can still pass? Why are you looking at the 12% paper and spoiling your exam setting? Number 8, attack on the opportunities, 88%. You know, and leave the rest you don't know. Come back to it later. Even if you don't know, leave it. Is that simple? Is that something you will do on the day of exam? So I hope you will largely benefit from this day 2. I hope you will try to implement the exam techniques I've guided you on section A, a lot of them on section B, mnemonic of CASP, mnemonic of RSPCA. I hope you will go through the recordings, you will see the presentation, you will take a printout of the presentation. I hope a bit of illustration I've given you of the practice platform will be helping you as well. So is everyone sound? Did you like the day 2 today? Did you got some learnings, something to retain, something you appreciate, and will you take on? So is there something you learned today which you will take on to the exam? Just in 2 minutes, if you can tell me what's the most important thing you learned today? Quickly. Just in 1 minute, if everyone can type in, what's the most important thing you learned today from day 2? Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, that you make audit easy. That's an absolute statement. Okay, how to answer substantive procedures. Okay. Reading the question first and then the case study. Okay, strategy for substantive procedures. Read requirement first. Time management. Okay, great. Okay, I wish you all a very best of luck for your upcoming exams on the 3rd of June, right? For AA. And I hope to see you all back on the day 3. A very inspirational day where you will learn from the students who have passed this paper, not from me. I'll be there in the session and I'll be a facilitator and I'll be taking on your Q&As and sharing them with the students who have excelled in December 23 and March 24 with like exceptional scores, and they will talk to you and take your questions and answer them. So be there, ask questions which will help you get through the AA in June. All the best. Take care. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz. I'm Kashif Kamran signing off from the day 2 of the AA Webinars to Success. Thank you so much for coming in.